All right, guys, we're going to talk about how to become wittier. Okay, so there's one thing that you can do, this one exercise that you can do to help you become wittier. So what you're going to do is go on Google, type in random word generator, and it doesn't really matter which site you click on that pops up. They're pretty much all the same, but all these sites are going to generate random words, and you can select on the settings how many words you want generated. I usually stick to 2, but the goal of this exercise is to compare and find a connection between the first word and the second word. And the thing is, both of these words are random, right? They're unrelated to each other. That's a key. Okay, so the easiest way to find a connection between both words is to think of all the actions that are associated with each word, as many as you can. Okay, you have to do this really quickly too. So you have the first word, kind of picture in your mind. Think of as many actions as you can that are associated with that first word, and the second word as well. How many get a general idea of it, and then think of all the actions that are associated with the second word, and see if those actions in the second word can be applied to the first word. If the first word can perform those actions, if those actions are related to that first word, or if they're relevant to that first word in a way. You'll see it a little bit better when we do an example. You'll understand it a little bit better, but that's the general idea, to find actions in the second word and try to relate it or see if they fit within the first word. Okay, so let's take an example. So if I go on the random generator right now, the 2 words that are popping up for me are magicians and billiards. Okay, so magicians and billiards, when I hear the first word, I have a general idea of what a magician is. I'm thinking about, wizard, wand, spells. We'll leave it at that. Okay, so very general. Now we'll move on to the second word, billiards. So what can I associate with billiards? So, we're talking about hitting balls in a hole, standing against a pool table, using a cue stick to hit a ball. Okay, so I'm kind of picturing or creating this image in my mind about all these actions that I can do with the billiards, or that are kind of related to billiards. So now that I have some actions defined, I'm gonna see if those actions can fit within the first word, which is magician. So what did I say? I said balls that are going to a hole, using a cue stick to hit balls. So let's take that for example. So a cue stick. So when I'm thinking about a cue stick, this is another piece to this exercise. So when we're going through all these actions, think of objects within those actions as well. So when we're talking about billiards, we're thinking about pool balls, numbered balls, holes, pool table, cue stick, right? A cue, pool cue. So when I'm thinking about using a pool cue to strike a ball, that pool cue kind of reminds me of a wand, right? Like we mentioned in the first word, remember we quickly went over some things that are associated with magicians, and one of the things are wand, right? So a pool cue kind of reminds me of a wand, just its shape. Pool cues are usually wood. Wands, if you watched Harry Potter, those wands are made out of wood, right? So you see a similarity there. Okay, so now that we've defined our connection, which is pool cues and wands, now it's the delivery portion of this exercise, which is how can we make a joke, or how can we kind of find the humor behind this connection. So this is where we go back to the first word, because the first word is the main subject in this joke, or the joke that we're trying to craft here. So for magicians, if we're talking about magicians, this is where you want to try to make a story in your mind about how magicians are performing the action that is relevant to the second word. So I'll explain with this example. So we define the connection as a wand, like a magic wand, and a pool cue. Now, how can we make up a story about magicians that that we can tie into billiards and the pool cue itself? So magicians, they do magic tricks, they do shows, right? If we're talking about, magicians that we see every day, they're doing shows. So let's make up a little story in our brains about magicians using their wands, their magic wands, to play billiards, okay? To shoot or to strike pool balls with their magic wands. So see how we made that connection between the first topic and the second topic? We're finding the actions or things that are associated with the second word and tying them back into the first word. And whether it's a hypothetical story or something that is like an instance that is happening in the moment, that's what we want to tie it into. Okay. So how you can use this in your everyday life is, instead of using random word generator, words that you've selected from online, every day you want to use your observation skills. So things that you come across every day, objects or nouns or anything that you come across every day, instead of using the random generated words, you want to use your observations as a substitute for the words that you're comparing. So for example, if I'm walking down the street and I see a tree, try to connect the tree with another, thing that you see. So tree and house, for example, right? So trees and houses. Houses, they're home to a lot of people. A lot of people live in the houses. How about trees? A lot of things or a lot of animals live in trees as well, right? So there's where you can make that connection. And then if you want to focus on delivery or making that joke, you could just say, you might as well live in a tree rather than a house. Seems like, and then a good way to make this joke even better is just to tie in real world examples. So right now the economy isn't doing too well where I live in. So rent is really high. So you can just say that, rent is really high. I wouldn't live in a house. I'd rather live in a tree. So there you go. There's your connection that you've made, and you made a joke out of it. So this is the goal of this exercise here. Start out with the random word generator. Take topics from there to compare. And then eventually you want to transition out of that and create comparisons and make connections between things or observations that you see every day. So practice this for 5 to 10 minutes every day for a month, and I guarantee you will see results. All right? See you guys. Thanks for listening.